Hey guys, well, welcome back to this week's episode of the American Landman. I'm out on my personal farm here in northwest Wisconsin, Polk County. This is one of my no-till brassica plots that I planted. I'm just kind of looking things over. Got a lot of tonnage, and frankly, they're looking pretty good. But hey, this week I just got a call from one of you listeners who follows the vlog. She originally is from McKinley, Texas, but I believe she's now living in Ohio. She's moved up there, but she saw my vlog and she enjoyed one of the topics about buying a small hobby farm. And so she called me up and said, how do I go about finding these places? Everything is gone or they're too expensive. So we had a good discussion. I thought, I'm sure there's other folks out there that have the same questions. So if you're looking for small pieces of land, something that's affordable, and you're having a hard time in this hot market because they're gone in a blink of an eye, then stick around. You're going to like this episode of the American Landman. Okay, well let's jump into this topic. So we've talked about some of the secrets, if you will, that really they aren't really secrets of how you find these properties way before the market. Because if you're going on sites like Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, or maybe you're even relying on an agent, a residential agent, then you're really kind of behind the eight ball, because by the time you see this property online, it's probably been viewed thousands of times if they're on sites like Zillow, or if you're relying on an agent to go find it, it's probably been viewed a number of times as well. And as you know, if you've been looking and you're searching, a lot of times they have offers on by the time you even get a chance on it. So there's some things that you can do to kind of speed things up. There's some help that you can recruit, and there's some things that you can do, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing, number one is, and I've talked about this in the past, is getting close to the center of influence. And what do I mean by that? Well, getting close to the center of influence means shopping for properties with the right agent. Now, in the real estate industry, there's commercial agents that typically work with commercial properties, and there's residential agents that typically focus on residential property, and then there's land specialist agents, which is what I am and all the guys here at Whitetail Properties. We focus on land. We look at it every day. We're constantly filling our funnel. We're talking to all the owners and farmers in the area, and we know properties that are coming up before they even hit the market. And oftentimes, if you are working with us, you can kind of get the inside track. And how do you do that? Well, number one, sign a buyer agency agreement with me. Become my client. I've talked about this in previous episodes, and I'm not going to dive into now, but basically with a contract, you hire me to go look for you. And when I find these properties, it's my duty to bring it to you first. That's how you get to the front of the line. Otherwise, what happens all the time is I get a phone call and it says, hey Neil, I am looking for a $175,000 budget, a piece of land with a $175,000 budget that is really good and has great deer and good farming and close to everything. When you see that, hey, give me a call, okay? And you kind of chuckle when you folks say that, because you hear it so often, and they're unlike literally hundreds of people that have done the very same thing. So if that's you and you've done that, it's just a low opportunity way of going about finding a property. It would be so much better to hire me as your buyer agent, or hire my buyer agent, Nick, as your buyer agent. We'll go find those properties, and when we find it, we'll bring it to you first. Oftentimes there's properties out there that we call pocket listings, and I could think of one in particular that I talked to this lady about. I'm not going to give a lot of details, and I'm going to change some things just so that the story isn't noticeable, but this property is in Pierce County, Wisconsin, and the owner has a large farm, and on that farm there's an old house that was once the main residence. He owns this farm because he's an absentee owner and he leases it out. The house sat empty for a good year and a half. It was a perfect opportunity for a situation just like this, where we could approach him. It's a part of his property that is not making money. It's losing money, because when farm homes, buildings, and even land sit vacant, idle, it just kind of decompensates. If what was once good tillable land now becomes overgrown and weedy, you have to work it to get it back. What was once a nice 2-bedroom, 3-bath farm home slowly starts to die when it's not kept heated and not kept clean, and same thing for old buildings. So this would have been a perfect situation that we could have approached him and asked him about either selling that or perhaps renting it or even doing a land contract purchase with very little money down, because it's not earning him any money. And if I know my friend that had this place, he would have been interested in a deal like that. As a matter of fact, he asked about it. So that leads me to number two. Now, how do you find these places? Well, there's a site out on the internet, and I'm going to give a shout out to these guys, biggerpockets.com. Brandon, if you're watching, there's a shout out to you. Bigger Pockets is a website and a podcast that I've listened to for years, and they talk about a technique looking for residential that works as well for rural properties. That is driving for dollars, and basically all that is getting out in your target area, driving around and looking for distressed properties, or properties that maybe are a little disheveled, or properties that have been abandoned but are still livable. Oftentimes what's happening there are people that own these are maybe absentee owners. They don't live nearby. They might have accumulated this farm or this home in an estate sale, and they live out of state, and they just don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to get rid of it. They haven't thought about getting rid of it. I mean, just any number of reasons why this property is not being used. And so by driving for dollars and looking at these properties, looking for distressed, overgrown, not really taken care of well, those are all signals that there might be an opportunity there. But how do you identify who they belong to? Well, that's pretty easy. There's a couple apps out there, but I'm going to tell you about one that I use all the time, and that is called MapRight. MapRight is a software program that you can get maps and you can overlay property ownership, put the lines in there, and you could click on it. It actually tells you who owns it. There's an address there. You could also use another tool called OnX Hunt. It's another common tool that hunters use all the time, but it has a landowner upgrade. And I believe it's $99 a year. I may be wrong on that, but the benefit of these apps are the same. You can be driving up to a property. It has a GPS locator. You'll see your little car, little blue dot says this is where I'm at. And then you just touch on that parcel ID and it'll pop open some information. You see it, you can write down the address, go on and look for the next piece. So you drive for dollars. You go out there and look for properties. If you do these things, you're going to come across properties. I see them all the time. They're a little distressed. They don't look like they're well taken care of. And oftentimes, guys, it can be a fantastic way to get a property before it's even on the market. You're competing against no one, but you don't have a lot of money. So how do you approach it? Well, the first thing I would do is say, are you interested in selling this property? Just cut to the chase right away. Many times they'll say, yeah, well, for the right price. Ask them about a land contract. A land contract is simply a deal between you as the buyer and them as the seller for an agreed upon price. Just like a bank, you go to them for the loan, the seller for the loan versus the bank, and you'd amortize with a little down payment, maybe 5% down, maybe a little bit more on the interest, and like 5.5% to 6%, or even a little bit more, and then you'd amortize it across 30 years like a loan, and you might even ask for a balloon payment in 10 years, and basically all that says is in 10 years I got to pay off this loan. So the seller makes some money on the interest, just like a bank would. They get monthly mailbox checks. In 10 years, they know you're going to buy this property and you're going to pay it all off. And you might even ask for a no prepayment penalty. And what that says is, hey, if I come into some money, I win the lottery, or grandma and grandpa leave me some money, or maybe I just get a much better paying job and I've got the money, I could pay off this loan. Oftentimes the seller won't want to do that because frankly, they want to keep that interest coming in. For whatever reason, maybe they don't want to take all the money. I recently did a land contract very similar to this. It was a large purchase, a little over $400,000, and the deal that we made, we purchased it with agreed upon price, and here was the deal. We gave a big down payment, I believe it was $50,000, and then we gave 4 equal payments over the next 5 years on an anniversary date until that property was purchased. There was a prepayment penalty in the form of it was not allowed. Okay, the guy can't pay it off earlier because the seller wants that interest rate, just like a bank would. That's money in the bank account. And his reason for doing that is for tax purposes. He didn't want to recognize all that income all at one time. So there's a lot of ways to skin this cat, and you should give me a call if you're interested. If you know of some ways and you have some ideas yourself, please comment below. There's people that are watching these videos that may seem common sense to you, but they're wondering and they have these same questions all the time. So send me a comment, send me an answer, send me a scenario how you have used land contracts, found properties that were maybe off market and how you approach that owner and maybe even how you purchase it. So I appreciate you watch these guys. These videos are helping people. I get the comments and calls from folks all over the United States, and frankly, it humbles me to get these calls. I got a call from Sam from India. I got a call from a gentleman from Utah, another from Oregon, and I got my favorite guy out there, you know who you are, from Florida, comments all the time. It's great to see people getting some value out of these videos. Hey folks, I'm Neil Hauger and I'm a land specialist for Whitetail Properties Real Estate. There's 250 and counting of us all throughout the United States. If you're looking for rural property, either selling or buying, then we can be your guys. Give me a call and I'll hook you up with the right guy. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Neil Hauger and you've been watching The American Landman. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Hey, do you consider yourself an American landman? If so, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to feature you as a guest appearance on the American Landman vlog. Here you'll talk about your experiences buying, managing, and selling land, just like we do, only it'll be your story on your property. So if you think you've got something you'd like to share with folks, I'm sure there's people all over the United States that would benefit from your experiences. So reach out to me. My number and email were on the end of this video. I'll get back to you. We'll talk about your experience as American Landman, and maybe you can be a guest on the American Landman vlog.